Hi, my name is Serna. I'm applying for a social studies position at Cristo Rey High School, and this video presentation is a mini lesson on Westward Expansion. Good afternoon, class. I'm Mr. Serna, the social studies teacher, the fun teacher with the fun socks. Today, we're going to be talking about Westward Expansion. So for what you guys have to do today in class, I want you to get a piece of paper and turn it lengthwise, and on it I want you to create a KWO chart. In the first column is the K, is three things that you know or that you want to know about Westward Expansion. We will be using the W and the L columns a little bit later today. So now we're going to see a short cartoon video about Westward Expansion and how it shaped the United States as a whole. And while you're watching the cartoon, I want you to write in the W column 3 key words or phrases that you hear about Westward Expansion in the video. So you're probably wondering, what is Westward Expansion? Well, Westward Expansion refers to the early settlers that moved from the original 13 colonies on the East Coast near the Atlantic Ocean to western parts of the United States. So there were 5 factors that led to Westward Expansion that we'll talk about. The Louisiana Purchase, Lewis and Clark's expedition to the sea, the idea of manifest destiny, the Oregon Trail, and the California Gold Rush. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is the Louisiana Purchase. It took place in 1803. It was the sale of the Louisiana Territory by the French to the United States. The United States President at the time was Thomas Jefferson, and he sent 2 officials, James Monroe and Robert Livingston, to France to negotiate the purchase of New Orleans for $10 million. Instead, Napoleon and the French government made the U.S. an offer they couldn't refuse and offered to sell the entire Louisiana Territory for $15 million. So let's crunch the numbers, shall we? The total cost of the Louisiana Territory ended up being $15 million. That translates to about 3 pennies an acre. Roughly 3/4 of a football field is an acre. So on average, nowadays, an acre would cost you $4,000, which means the cost of the Louisiana Purchase in today's dollars would be $1.2 trillion, with a T, trillion dollars. So this is a map of the Louisiana Purchase, and as you can see, the territory stretches all the way from the Gulf of Mexico in the southeast to the Rocky Mountains in the west. So the Louisiana Purchase was actually made official on March 10th, 1804. There was an official ceremony where the French flag was lowered down from Jackson Square, or modern-day Jackson Square, and the American flag was raised, as you can tell in this picture. So now that we've bought the Louisiana Territory, what did we buy? We went in thinking we were just going to buy New Orleans, and now we've bought this huge amount of land. So President Jefferson sends Meriwether Lewis and William Clark to map out the most practical routes to the Pacific Ocean and to explore this wide territory that we've purchased. In doing so, they hired a Shoshone woman by the name of Sacagawea, and they left Missouri in 1804. And by November 1805, they had reached the Pacific Ocean. This is a map of Lewis and Clark's expedition to the Pacific Ocean. As you can see, the solid red line is the route that they took, leaving St. Louis, Missouri, and going northwest all the way to Oregon country, where they spotted the Pacific in 1805. The dotted line represents the return trip by both Lewis and Clark. So what was the findings of the expedition? Well, the amount of territory purchased, Lewis and Clark discovered, amounted to being 512 million acres of land. That land would become about 15 of our modern day states, stretching all the way from the Mississippi River, Rocky Mountains, and beyond, and nearly doubling the size of our young country. So the last thing I want you to do for today's lesson is go back to our KWL chart. And in the L column, I want you to write 3 things that you learned about Westward Expansion in today's lesson. So that's today's lesson. We talked about the Louisiana Purchase, how it was done, how much it cost, also the expedition of Lewis and Clark to discover how much territory we actually bought. There are three other factors that led to westward expansion: manifest destiny, Oregon Trail, and the California Gold Rush. But we're going to have to talk about that tomorrow, because that's all the time we have for today.